Okay, so as Paul there has really sort of very clearly given you a brief around what your role and remit is with regards to the appropriate body, what I'd like to do now is give real clarity on the role and remit of the induction tutor with regards to the ECF-based training. And obviously, colleagues on the call here, you are all induction tutors for the early career teacher programme with ambition. And again, very conscious that there's been no training given around this. So this is sort of a whistle-stop tour of real clear expectations of the programme that have been in place this year, but also going forward. So in brief, we're going to start by looking at revisiting the rationale for the early career teacher programme, why we actually have it, why we have the early career framework. Then looking at your responsibility as an induction coordinator is to really support your mentors, and the main tool that mentors have to support their ECTs is instructional coaching. So we're going to explore briefly what instructional coaching involves, because we're conscious again that you as tutors are monitoring and overseeing that, but have had no training on it. Then we'll look at what being an effective induction coordinator means and supporting you in successfully embedding the ECF-based training in your school. And then finally, we'll have a look at Step Lab as a platform and how that can support you in the functionality of monitoring the programme and engagement. So if we begin by sort of the whys, why do we have the early career framework and the early career teacher programme? I mean, it is central, one of the biggest educational reforms. It's central to the recruitment and retention strategy. And we all do know as experienced practitioners that high quality teaching has a significant impact on pupil outcomes. So the main aims of the early career teacher programme really are to improve the quality of teaching. And that can only happen if you've got good professional development and high quality professional development, and we aim to sort of deliver that through the Ambition curriculum. And research tells us that this is really, really essential to be taking place within those first 2 years of your career, hence why the programme is 2 years, because the dropout rate in 2 years is quite significant. So I'm going to quickly recap again here the role and remit of each stakeholder. So this is in terms of the early career teacher programme, not the AB. So we're not looking sort of at the assessment aspects here. It's the entitlement more than anything. So the induction coordinator, which is yourselves, your role is to really ensure that they receive the appropriate, that mentors and teachers receive a real appropriate amount of support from yourself and also the wider community, and ensuring that they're accessing the curriculum, the ECT-based programme, but also wider school policies, including safeguarding, etc. Mentors, their main role is, well, they're essential in developing ECT's classroom practice and making sure and guiding them through the early career teacher programme. And early career teachers are the main beneficiaries of the whole thing. So just a brief overview of the curriculum, which again, you may or may not be so familiar with. So all ECTs have to cover, their entitlement is to engage with the whole content of the early career framework, and this is accessed within the curriculum. And what we like particularly about the Ambition curriculum is it's accessed over 2 years, and it's broken down into 3 strands, which are behaviour, instruction and subject. And again, they're revisited in year 2 in each term as outlined on the slide in front of you. Each strand has 12 modules that increase in complexity over the 2 years. Again, I repeat this regularly to mentors and to ECTs. It's not necessarily a binge approach that we want to this. The modules, there are 12 modules in each strand, and they are to be engaged with over the 2-year period. So there is that flexibility there for purposeful pauses, for in-house CPD, residentials, assessment weeks, etc., whatever things you have going on, because we are aware that if you're engaging every single week, you're cramming the programme into 1 year as opposed to 2. Now, on top of the self-study modules, there are 2 other main sources of support that ECTs have, and that is the instructional coaching, as well as clinics and conferences that complement the whole curriculum content over time. So that's just a brief recap in case you weren't really clear on on the curriculum as a whole. But if anybody, as previously, has any questions, please pop them into the chat function, and Paul, I'm sure, will happily man that for us. So just so you're clear on what your mentors and teachers should be doing, each week your teachers have two things to do to build their expertise through engaging with the curriculum, and that is to engage with the self-study content by watching a video, reading an evidence summary, and completing a quiz, all of which are hosted on Step Lab. And as you'll see here on the slide in front of you, the timings are really broken down there. So it should equate to around 45 minutes self-study for your ECT on a weekly basis. And your mentors should meet with your early career teachers for at least 45 minutes a week, with the main focus for around 30 minutes being in an instructional coaching session, where they'll be sharing feedback with ECTs on their last action step and provide a modelled demonstration of what the action step should look like in perfection, and giving them opportunities to practice through that the feedback section of the instructional coaching cycle. I think an important thing to note here is that the time doesn't have to be in the school day. There is funded time allocated for your mentors to be doing this, particularly as you've opted into the DFE fully funded option. And I think it's important to note that it is up to you within your school, local leadership level, and whether this takes place either by a reduced timetable or outside the school day, as long as it is happening is the main thing. And year two, which many of you will be going into, and a lot of your mentors would have received training on this. Just to remind you that, again, it is a 2-year programme, and so that next year instructional coaching will take place on a fortnightly basis. And again, there is protected funding for mentors, so you can ensure that that is taking place as an additional 20 hours across the academic year, and that your teachers will receive a 5% reduction in timetable. Again, that is funded. In year two, it's expected that your early career teachers will complete any outstanding modules, or even indeed revisit some that you or your mentor feel are a priority for them moving forward in terms of their professional development. I think it's important to note here that your ECTs will be receiving new classes next year, potentially new year groups. So going back to some of the behaviour strands might be quite important to revisit some aspects of the curriculum as they embed new routines again. And a big focus in year two, again, for ECTs is that of self-regulation, and mentors will have received training on this in terms of how to support mentors to analyse their own practice and self-identify areas to work on themselves. Okay, so we're going to swiftly move on to now instructional coaching, which this is at the heart of the ECT programme. So we're going to explore this in a little more detail so that you have a clearer understanding of the process and how best to support your mentors in schools, and with this being implemented successfully, because we do realise that this again is a shift in culture and a shift in landscape to how ECTs or NQTs of old would have been mentored previously. So as you'll see on the screen here, I've outlined just in detail for you a recap of the role of the mentor. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes, well, maybe 30 seconds or so, to just really read that so that you're clear on what the role of the mentor that you're supporting actually is. I think what's important here as well to bring your attention to is having that flexibility and autonomy for your mentors to adapt Ambition Institute's resources to reflect the context and needs of your particular ECT. So it's not one size fits all. So they are sort of that expert teacher that are really developing that flex within the curriculum. And also to note that they are not responsible at all for the assessment of your ECTs against the teacher standards. They are there for a means of teacher development support to ensure they become great and even better teachers. So what is instructional coaching? There are lots of different ideas about what coaching is, and the ambitions definition is based on the work of research around Kraft et al., which uses the following features to define what instructional coaching is. So they say it's an observation and feedback cycle in which instructional experts work with teachers to discuss their practice in a way that is individualized. So we mean that's individualized to the teacher being developed. It's recurring and happening on a regular basis, so i.e. weekly if possible. It's sustained, and in this instance we know that it's sustained over a 2-year period, so that culture really is getting embedded in your setting. And that it is classroom and practice based, with expert models being context specific. So the model expert comes from the videos within the self-study modules, but also mentors as well. And they're seeing it through observation in classroom practice beyond their own classroom too. And it's focused on specific skills, and those you'll be familiar with the action steps that they select. So it really is sort of broken down into granular targets and actions on a weekly basis. Okay, we're going to now watch a video that will really outline to you what would happen within an instructional coaching cycle session. It's just a few minutes, but I think it's nice for you to see and actually reflect and evaluate, does this resonate or resemble what you think your mentors are currently doing with your ECTs at the moment? Because there has been some real misconceptions about what instructional coaching is.
You might have heard that instructional coaching is one of the most powerful forms of professional development available for teachers. But what exactly is it? Let's do a quick run through. Instructional coaching involves one teacher working with another teacher to help them take small, personalized steps to improve their practice. Instructional coaches help their teachers to get better by doing 2 things on a regular basis: identifying an area for improvement, usually based on a short observation, providing teachers with opportunities to practice and get feedback on their improvement. In the observation phase, the coach will often drop into the teacher's lesson for about 15 minutes. This is a chance to see how their teacher is getting on and identify the next best small step for them to work on. Instructional coaching is about developing teachers, not judging them. In the feedback phase, the coach and the teacher get together for a structured meeting lasting about 30 minutes. During this time, the coach leads the teacher through 3 activities designed to help them improve. First, providing the teacher with praise on any progress they have made. Second, agreeing the next best step for them to work on before modelling the step to help the teacher develop an understanding of what good looks like. Third, helping the teacher to plan and practice their step exactly as they'll use it in their classroom. During practice, teachers often rehearse their step multiple times, with the coach giving balanced feedback between each attempt. Practice in this low-stakes environment allows teachers to focus all their attention on improving so they can master their step before taking it to their classroom. Instructional coaching doesn't just have to focus on what teachers do within the classroom. It can also be useful for improving things such as lesson planning. The coach then books in some time to observe the teacher using their step, and the cycle starts again. So there you have it, instructional coaching in a nutshell.
Okay, so I hope that was useful for you in sort of understanding a whistle-stop tour of what the instructional coaching cycle should actually look like in practice. And we've got sort of here a diagram that really exemplifies the key features of the instructional coaching cycle. So an ECT works on bite-sized steps that are carefully sequenced, and they're selected by a mentor on a weekly basis and should build on prior knowledge. And the role of the mentor here is to observe the ECT, teach and use professional judgment in combination with the curriculum sequence to select a new action step for the ECT to work on. I think also what's important here to point out is the role of the mentor being that live model of putting the theory into action and context. So they are actually exemplifying what that should look like. And that helps build the ECT's mentor models, and then encouraging them to practice it within the coaching cycle. So there is sort of a lot of role play element here, but it can be through professional dialogue too. It's whatever works for your mentor and ECT. As well, but having the opportunity to practice in a low stakes environment is really, really key, and research shows us that that helps embed and change habits that actually stick moving forward. So I hope that's given you a broad overview of what instructional coaching is and should look like in your setting. So now we're going to move on to the next aspect, which is a bit about you being in your role. How can you be as effective as possible in terms of the implementation of the early career teacher program? So you need to have a really strong understanding of the mentor role and how to support them effectively to do their job. So on this first slide here, I'm just going to give you a few seconds really to read through that. There's sort of practical elements to your role here in assigning mentors to coaches on Step Lab, etc. But I think the biggest one, the real big one, is ensuring that the programme is successfully embedded in your school. And for that to be the case, you've got to have a real clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities, and you're providing sort of supportive accountability. And we'll look in a little bit more detail at sort of enabling conditions, making sure that the climate and the culture is appropriate in your school to allow this programme to be embedded successfully. I think one of your roles again is, supporting the mentor to engage with the programme in a meaningful way, but holding them to account as well. What is the quality of coaching like? What is the quality of the instructional coaching? Are the action steps that are being set for your ECTs appropriate? Are they challenging? Are they stretching enough? So you're sort of holding both to account really. So I'd like to bring your attention, I think, to the EEF implementation guide at this point, because as an induction coordinator, you can really help to ensure the culture and environment within your school is ready for implementation to happen. And this has to be done really through enabling conditions. And I think if we think about implementation, which I'm sure you're all really familiar with, it's not a one-off event, it's actually a process. So I've got an extract for you that I'm not going to get you to read now, but I'm going to email it out in addition to the recording of today's session, that will really help you to sort of stop, reflect and think about the conditions in which you are implementing the programme in your school. When you do get a chance to read that extract, I'm going to bring to your attention the three main things that come out of it. And there are three sort of key actions for successful implementation. And the first one being you as induction tutors really investing in embedding enabling conditions in your school. And so making sure that culture for learning is right. And the way in which you can do that, I think, is really to consider time. Is sufficient time being allocated to engage with activities and training? And that's training for your ECTs, whether that's conferences and clinics, and the training for your mentors as well, with in terms of conferences and clinics, but also engaging with the instructional coaching. So ensuring the culture is right. We know that teachers thrive and perform much better when working in supportive environments. So is there a whole school culture across this? RSLT engaged with it fully as well? Are they endorsing the programme and aware of it? And again, just looking very carefully at the mentor and mentee relationship, mentor and teacher relationship, because you'll oversee that for 2 years and making sure it remains effective throughout the whole of the programme. The second thing that I think we should bring our attention to is, are the right conditions in place? Induction tutors, you need to support staff to ensure they're equipped with the knowledge and skills to engage with the programme. And again, I think attendance to events and training is key for this. And then going back to sort of that quality assurance role for you, how are you ensuring that the quality of coaching is what it should be? What kind, again, going back to what I mentioned previously, what kind of action steps are mentors being set? Are they fit for purpose? And then 3, the final one is to track and monitor the implementation, and we can do that through Step Lab, through conversations, and through observations, because you will need to track and monitor how the program is being embedded and what the engagement is like in your school. And that takes us quite sort of nicely onto the final bit shortly, where we will look at the use of Step Lab that can support you in that. So the 3 questions here I think that you need to consider when monitoring teacher engagement with the programme. So I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to read over those and reflect. Are these happening in your school on a regular basis? Okay, and finally, we're going to look at the infamous Step Lab, which you will have the lead function access to. So this platform not only supports mentors in coaching, but also supports you to track and monitor engagement and progress with both ECT and Mentor. So we're going to watch a short video now, which will give you an overview of the key functionality of Step Lab and how you can use it, and it can really support your role as an induction tutor.
At Ambition Institute, we work hard to design content that will help teachers to keep getting better. But it would be nothing without the people who deliver that content. Mentors, facilitators, induction coordinators, ECF leads. Together, you are the driving force of the Early Career Teacher programme. So alongside designing content, we are working hard to provide you with the tools that you need to carry out your role. Our goal is to make it as easy as possible for you to do a great job. Ambition Institute has partnered with an organisation called Step Lab to help us deliver the Early Career Teacher programme. Step Lab is an online platform where people involved in the programme can find everything they need to play their part. The menu bar shows the different areas of the platform. The lead section provides data about how the programme is going in a particular setting. The Learn section is where you can access self-study material, courses and modules that you have been assigned to. The Coach section supports mentors to run powerful instructional coaching sessions. The Manage section is for organising the programme within a setting, like assigning mentors to teachers. The Library section provides quick access to important programme resources, as well as a library of all action steps on the Early Career Teacher programme. The Support section provides guidance on both the platform and the programme. The Lead section is for induction coordinators and ECF leads. This is where you can carry out key tasks within your role, like seeing how teachers are getting on with their self-study modules and how mentors are getting on with coaching. For example, you can see how often mentors are using the platform to set action steps and explore what action steps they're choosing. It is one way of gathering information that help induction coordinators and ECF leads to see how the programme is going in their setting. It helps them to see the bright spots and where they might prioritise support. The Learn section is where early career teachers will find all of their self-study modules. Within each module, there will be content to read and content to watch. The written materials explore the underpinning theory and concepts of the programme, covering all areas of the early career framework. Videos explore what this content may look like in practice in the classroom. The Coach section helps mentors to work with their early career teachers. It provides reminders of who a mentor is coaching and when, and it helps to run effective instructional coaching by completing a short observation and a short feedback session. Step Lab combines multiple functions in one place. To help you get the most out of it, we will provide you with ongoing support and training, and we welcome your feedback to help us keep getting better.
Thank you, and sorry about that slight hitch there. So that's just an overview of Step Lab and how you can use it. And if you're sort of not overly confident with it, we do have guidance support handbooks, but also I'd like to sort of signpost you to the support tab as well on StepLab that you have under the lead section, that has a series of mini videos that can help you how to access and use the platform effectively as an induction tutor. So really it is key in your role to be familiar with that, because it helps you track and monitor the program engagement, the quality of your coaching. You have to obviously assign your coaches, which are your mentors, to your ECTs. And if you do need to pause the program at any point, it is through StepLab that you do that. And again, just to remember, if we are pausing a participant on the program, it is for if their absence is for sort of 3 weeks and beyond. Anything shorter than that, it really isn't necessary. So that brings my sort of whistle-stop tour of your role and remit as an induction tutor with regards to the early career teacher programme to a close, and happy to answer any questions that you may have in the chat function, or any questions you may wish to just unmute and ask.
So I've got a couple for you, Emma, but just before I do that, it's really good to just point out, we've been bouncing between terms here: induction tutor, induction coordinator. We see those terms as being one and the same. The separation is an induction tutor is responsible for all aspects of induction, you know, dealing with the appropriate body as well as ECF-based training. The induction coordinator is typically the person who oversees the ECF-based training. But reality is, they tend to be one and the same person. So we're tending to use induction tutor primarily, but you'll see Ambition are using induction coordinator on a regular basis. So the first question, Emma, was in regards to a school has already engaged with the ECT program going forward. However, in the past, however, they have a new ECT and they have a new mentor. Does the mentor training just repeat like it did last year for this new mentor who hasn't yet accessed training?
So can I just clarify, where is the ECT on the programme? So there's a new ECT that's starting.
New ECT.
In ECT2?
No,
is that ECT2
ECT1
or ECT1?
Yeah, it'd be ECT1 with a new mentor who hasn't accessed any training yet. Does the mentor training begin for them in September?
Yes, it does, and the dates are already set for that. So as long as you've registered via the DFE portal, as well as the appropriate body, then yeah, you will be receiving an email shortly to sign your, as an induction tutor, you'll be requested to register your ECT for an ECT conference in September. All dates are set, and likewise mentor conference training for your new mentor, because again, this is a new cycle. It would be slightly different now if it were an ECT2 and a new mentor, because the mentor previously would have already had training along the way.
So that was in fact the next question for you actually, Emma. So in this instance, it's an ECT2 that joins the school in September. Their mentor hasn't had any training yet. So how does the mentor get up to speed with what their requirements are?
We have a mentor conference tomorrow for mentor conference 2 for ECT2. If they can attend that, that would be fabulous. But again, as I just sort of explained, the funding for mentors is for one mentor per ECT, and we do realise, and we have experienced that mentor has changed on 1 or 2 occasions, but the funding is only there for them to be released and access the training once. That's why we're trying to reduce mentor changes if possible. But in this instance, what I would do is assign asynchronous material so that they can come up to speed, because it's a really important job that they're doing. They may have no knowledge and understanding of instructional coaching. If possible at school, there could be a handover with the old mentor supporting them. That would be of real benefit as well. But do anything like that, I think it's really important that you flag up to us as or me as an ECT lead, so we can try and put some support and provision in place.